To be Oops, sorry. Welcome everybody and Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be on with you guys and so excited to kick off this new training series, Level Up with Laurie. This is something that I'm going to be doing regularly every Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 12. We'll be covering different fundamentals and different skills within the business. And of course, the goal is to help you grow your real estate business, build momentum, and feel empowered. We're going to go ahead and dive into everything here. Let me just pull up my screen. I got some slides. Hold on. Here we go. All right. And everybody should be muted, but if you have questions, definitely feel free to put them in the chat and I will answer those at the end. Or if something's pressing, I'll try to answer it as we go too. Um, Very good. Welcome everyone. As you're hopping on, go ahead and put your name on the chat, and just say hi to everybody. You can put your name, tell us where you're from, or put your name, say how long you've been in the business, or if you're new. I know there's some people in licensing school that are going to be joining us. You can put that as well. But I'm so excited to be here with you guys. So it is 11:01. While you guys are putting in the chat, by the way, if you will just confirm for me, please, that you can see the slides. That would be awesome. Will somebody just say yes, that you can see the slides? Okay, great. Awesome. Hi, Tony. Hi, TJ. Very good, very good. Okay, so I'm so excited. We're going to dive right into it today. I've got lots to cover in an hour. So we are going to have a great time and I'm going to just continue adding people as we go. Like I said, this kicks off a training series. And today, of course, is the first one, which is the money map. Kind of the thought process behind this is that you can't really get where you're going if you don't have a plan. There's a great quote I love from Yogi Berra, the baseball player, that says, if you don't know where you're going, you'll wind up somewhere else. And I don't know if any of us have the goal or intention to wind up somewhere else, right? You just don't hit big goals by doing more alone. Like, it's not about grinding it out. You hit big goals, or any goals for that matter, by doing what matters. And that's what I want to focus on today. Today, we're going to break down your 2026 income goals into exact math so that you know precisely what activities are going to drive your income and how to get there. And what we're going to talk about today is based on the Keller Williams Red Book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. It is a timeless book. If you're not familiar, I highly recommend reading it. It is like a blueprint for every top agent for how to grow your business. And these are based on proven models and tools that help agents grow consistently over time. The first thing I want you to think about, oopsies, hold on, let me make sure I'm clicked in here so I can move along. Good, very good. So the first thing I want you to think about today is, what is the real number that you're chasing in 2026? And do you know the specific activities that are required to get you there? That's really kind of our objective, is that by the end of this, you're going to have a crystal clear number and be very clear on the specific activities. I don't know about y'all. When I was a new agent, and even like as I've been growing my business over the years, there's been many times where it's like, okay, I want to grow by X amount. Like when I was new, I remember just being like, okay, I want to make $100,000 this year. How the heck do I do it? Don't really know, not really sure, but I sure am gonna try, right? And that doesn't really work. And so I love formulas like this because, when you have a mathematical formula, 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4. And isn't that empowering that you can know, if I do X, Y, and Z, I will get the result I want? So what we're going to go through today breaks down the data so you know exactly how many listings, how many closings, how many buyers that you need in order to achieve your big goal. And I will tell you, I'll show you guys at the end. I do have like a spreadsheet that I'll send to you guys in the resources following this Zoom that automatically will calculate all of this for you. So if you want to use that spreadsheet where it auto calculates everything, fantastic. It's a fantastic tool. But today we are going to go through it manually. If you guys are anything like me, math is not my favorite subject. Just to be clear, I when I was in school, I liked English and history, and math was not my thing. And so I've always been very intimidated by numbers for that reason. When I was getting my license, that was my biggest fear was I was like, oh gosh, the numbers, the math. And so that's why I want to go through it manually with you because you'll see that it's actually not that complicated. And even if you're not a math whiz, you can figure this out and you can work on purpose. And so the tools that we're going to go through today are, of course, designed to give you clarity and focus on the numbers that actually matter, the numbers that are going to move the needle. And I want you to think about I'm going to show you a worksheet in a little bit, and you want to use this as a living, working document. So you'll want to update the inputs regularly, meaning what your averages and your percentages are. Update it with what you were working on and how your progress is going. And then you can use it to measure where you are and what it'll take to reach your goals. Now, today I'm going to use just kind of basic averages, but I just want you to think about that. So focus is what separates successful people from everyone else. When you know your numbers, you know what to do next. And that is what we are going to do today. So if you're not familiar at all with MREA, with the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, this is let me add these people. Come on in. Admit all. Sorry, guys. Very good. I think we should be good now. So the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book is about how to make $1 million as a real estate agent, as you can imagine. And it goes in this order. Think a million. You have to get your mindset to where you can think about making that type of money and get your brain around how to do it. Then you're going to earn $1 million, and then you're going to net $1 million, which if you're not a money person, this was something that always helped me because there's gross income and there's net income, right? Easy way to think about it is gross is like it's gross. It's like all of it, right? And net, think about a little net on your back. Net is the amount of money that you actually take home that goes in your bank account. So that's our goal is to help you actually net $1 million. And so this is a model that's predictable. It gives you results. And you can build a strong, strong foundation on this. A key question I want you to ask yourself today is that we're going to answer by the end of today is how many appointments do I need to go on to net the income that I want? So remember, if you make what this means, essentially what I'm saying is if you make 100,000 in gross commission, that doesn't actually mean that $100,000 are going to end up in your bank account, right? Because you have expenses, you have cost of sale, there's other things. And so you really want to think about what's the work that I need to do so that I get that result at the end of the year where I can look back and see that I netted the amount of money that I wanted to. So that's what we're going to focus on today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with your net income goal. So ultimately, I do want to say this too, like I said earlier, we're going to run through an example and I'm going to share a worksheet with you and you'll get this actual worksheet that you can fill in on your own too. I'm going to use averages today as examples, but ultimately you're going to want to know what percentage of your business comes from buyers and sellers, or if you're new, like what percentage you want it to be. A really good baseline, if you're not sure, is like 50-50, right? 50% sellers, 50% buyers. That's a really good balanced business. But there are people that only want to work with buyers or only want to work with sellers or want to lean heavier on one side or the other. So know what percent of your business comes from each side. Then you want to know what is the percentage that you typically get from a transaction. So remember, as we all know, there's no standard commission rates in the world of real estate. You get to negotiate your commission and the amount that you get paid. For this example, I like to use the commission rate of 2.5% just as an example. But remember, you decide how much your commission is, you decide what you charge. And so as you're growing, if you're new, I recommend start with a basic and then track it as you go so you can figure out what your average is. Or if you're established, in easy ways, you can go back and look at the trends from the last year of business and figure out what was your average commission that you collected in the last year. Then you're going to want to know what's your average sales price. So again, I'm going to use the basics today. Our average sales price in Charlotte is right around 400,000. So that's what we're going to use for Charlotte Metro averages. But of course, if you're an experienced agent, just go back and look at your trends for the last year, your multi-year trends, and you can see what your average price point was that you sold. And go from there. And of course, if you're new, you'll figure this out kind of by tracking through your year. So with that being said, we're going to start at the beginning, start at the very beginning. So we're gonna start with your net income goal. How much do you want in your bank account? Now, these are just examples, but I want you to write down on your paper how much you want net. And we're going to figure out your gross commission that you need to make in order to net that. A really easy pro tip. So, and I'm going to explain this a little bit more in a minute, but easy pro tip, in order to find your gross commission, you divide your net goal by 40% if you're an experienced agent or 60% if you're a new agent. That equals your required GCI. That basically is saying that if you're an experienced agent, you probably want to plan on netting about 40% of the income that comes in gross, or 60% if you're a new agent. So I'm just going to give you an example. If your goal is, let's do that in real time. If your goal is that you want to net $100,000 this next year, we're going to take 100,000 and we're going to, and let's say you're a new agent. We're going to take 100,000 and we're going to divide it by 60%. And that means you're going to want to sell enough to have enough gross commission to make $166,667 gross. Let's say you're an experienced agent and you want to net 250,000 this next year. We're going to take that and divide it by 40%, and your goal is to gross 625,000 in order to net 250,000. Now remember, these are based on averages. Your business could look different than this, right? And so I'll talk about that in a minute. But those are just a really good kind of like base level to start with, so that you can start working backwards. So put in the chat, does everybody have their net and their gross? Have you figured out what your projected net and gross commission will be? Hector, yes, there is a handout to follow along. I'm going through the slides right now, but you'll get an actual handout that you can print at the end, and we're going to go through the worksheet together as well. But for now, I'd recommend write it down in your notes on your phone or a piece of paper. Awesome. Welcome, Joey. Hi, India. Yes, India has her number. Does everybody have their net and their gross? Put in the chat, yes, if you do. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Okay, we're going to keep going then. Okay, so now you want to determine your business expenses. So if you're sitting here and you're like, what the heck? I want to make, $100,000 and I got to sell almost 170,000 to make 100. Why is that? Why don't I get 100% of my income? Well, the purpose of this is because we want to help you plan, because what happens so often to entrepreneurs, and especially in the real estate space, is agents get their commission check. They sell a house, we get our commission check, and we're like, woo, I'm rich. And then we spend it all. And then we're like, oh no, taxes, or oh no, I wanted to send mailers to the neighborhood to farm it. I don't have any money. Like, we're not treating our business like a business. We're treating our business just like a job. And when you treat it like a job, you can't run it like a business, right? And that's going to cause a lot of inconsistency and a lot of financial stress. Your business does not have to be stressful if you financially pre-plan where your money's going to come from, how it's going to be handled, and what you're going to do with it. So if you look in the models of the MREA book, what they recommend for an experienced agent is 30-30-40, which means 40% profit, that's net income, 30% expenses, 30% cost of sale. It'll be a lot lower for brand new agents, but that's generally a good rule of thumb. So this is kind of a good trend to look at. If you're a newer agent, you might be looking at more like 20% lower overhead as you build. You're going to be looking at more like 30-40 mid-level and 40-50 as your business gets larger with a team and that sort of stuff. The other thing I want to make sure you understand is when you're considering what your profit versus expenses versus cost of sale will be, and trying to predict that, or looking back on your trends from this last year, seeing where it landed and what you might need to adjust. Because side note, one thing that can happen with experienced agents is we wake up at the end of the year and you're like, whoa, my profit was way less than 40%. My expenses were out the roof, or my cost of sale was crazy. And if that's you, that's okay. It's just awareness so that you can plan differently. So expenses are things that you're going to pay upfront to run your business no matter what. So think about, like the things you see there, mailers, marketing, if you're running ads like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok ads, YouTube ads, if you're purchasing leads up front, that's like, for example, just as an example, realtor.com, you pay up front for the leads. That's a cost you're going to spend no matter whether you close business or not. Gas in your car, branding, photo shoots, technology, you need a new computer, a phone, etc., licensing fees. Those are all upfront expenses that you're going to pay no matter what. Then you've got cost of sale that you want to make sure you consider as well. And cost of sale is going to be what you pay only when you close, hence cost of the sale, right? How much does it cost you to have that sale? And that depends on you and your business. If you're new, it depends on projecting what type of business you want to have. Or if you're not new, look back on your trend this last year and where did your business come from? So, for example, referral fees. If you're working with any type of lead source, where you pay a referral fee like City, for example, or Zillow, or if you work really heavily with agent to agent referrals and you pay referral fees out to those people, that's a cost of sale because you only pay it when you close. Cap and splits with your brokerage, same thing. You're only going to pay that when you close. So that would be a part of your cost of sale. Your cost of sale, of course, if you're with Keller Williams for cap and splits is much lower than other traditional brokerages because you cap out. And once you hit your cap, you make 100% the rest of the year, which is fabulous. Transaction coordination, same thing. That's a cost of sale, right? So if you're not sure what it is, just go with the averages today. And then I really want to encourage you, if you have done business in the last 12 months, go back and look at those numbers. Where did your business come from? What type of expenses went out? You can estimate if you need to. And then this next year, track it really closely. We actually have a really great tool, by the way, if you're not aware, at our office to help you with this. It's called RE Profit. You get it for free at no cost by being a part of our office. And it's a financial tool that will track your profit and loss statement, all of your expenses. It tracks mileage. For taxes, it is phenomenal. So highly recommend that. It makes your life super easy, or at least a lot easier, right? Okay. So let's keep moving. Now you're going to want to make sure you know your numbers before we go, like your other numbers, before we go and move forward into the worksheet. So, of course, you want to know your average commission. Again, this is basics based on our averages here in the Charlotte market. Fort Mill, Charlotte average is within that range. So if you say 450,000 is your average and you this last year took an average of 2.5% commission per closing, then that makes your personal average commission gross 11,250. Now remember, this is based on averages. So if you're projecting, if you're a new agent or you haven't done any business in the last 12 months, just use those averages to project. And then you can compare your business this year to the averages and adjust as you go. Or if you're not new, I would recommend going through your multi-year trends and you can see, basically you can see the total sales volume you had and the total commission, gross commission collected, divide those two, and that'll give you what your average commission was just very easily. So that's the first thing. If you're not sure how to do this, well, I guess it's written there, so I'll send it to you if you need it. Okay. Then we are going to build your funnel backwards. So you want to think about when you're setting your goals, you've got the big picture, right? We know how much you want to net now, and we know how much gross commission you want to earn in order to net the number that you want to net. And we know your average commission. So once you have those things, your goal for commission, your goal for net, and what your average commission is, then we want to work backwards because it's fine to know, hey, I want to make $200,000 this year. And I mean, you could just go real basic and be like, I want to make $200,000 this year. My average commission is $10,000. So there you go. I probably want to sell 20 units, right? But that's fine to know. But if you don't know how to get there, why does it matter? Because I'll tell you what the answer is not. The answer is not, I just need to work harder this year. Just working harder and hoping that it all comes together is not going to leave you feeling great at the end of the year. You're probably going to end up feeling burnt out, feeling like you worked really hard and probably didn't get as much momentum and traction as you would have liked. And so what I find can be really empowering is you're going to build your funnel backwards. So you're going to have a really specific map for how to get where you want to go. So essentially, we're going to say, we're going to work with these conversion rates. Okay. These are averages. Now, these are the numbers again that you can figure out as you're building your business this year or look back this past year if you tracked it. Now, if you did not track it, a really easy thing to do is just take the first quarter and write it all down and see what happened, and you'll get your percentages. But basically, we're going to find out today um, how many signed clients, meaning someone that actually signed an agreement for a listing or to be your buyer's agent with you, actually led to a closed deal. We're going to find out how many appointments you need to have to get those signed agreements. We're going to find out how many appointments you need to set in order to get the appointments to hold. And we're going to find out how many leads you need and conversations you need to have in order to set those amount of appointments, right? So the amount of leads and conversations you have are going to bring you to your appointments that you're setting. The appointments you're setting are going to bring you to the appointments that are holding. That's what MET means. The appointments that are holding are going to lead you to the amount of signed agreements, buyers or sellers, and the amount of signed agreements you have is going to bring you your closed deals. Now, these are the averages. We're saying that you have about a 10% conversion rate. That means 1 in 10, right? Like you have 10 conversations with people about real estate. You'll probably set an appointment. 50% show rate, meaning 50% of appointments you set typically will hold because life, right? 70% sign rate means if you sign, on average for our office, if you hold that appointment, 75% of the time they're going to sign with you. And then based on our office averages, if you sign that client, 75% of the time you're going to close as a buyer or seller. So those are the numbers that we're working through. And I'm going to show you the worksheet in just a second. So this is the math that we're going to go through, and I'm going to explain this. So we're going all the way from, let's say you want 25 closings, and it's going to take you all the way to how many conversations you need. Okay. So if you need 25 closings this year and close 75% of your clients, you need 33 agreements. That means 33 people to say they want you to be their agent, right? If you sign 75% of people that you meet, right? This is going back to these right here, right? If you sign 75% of people that you meet, you need 44 appointments held in the year 2026. If 70, this is a little bit more less conservative, but that's fine. If 70% of set appointments hold, so you do better than a 50% hold rate, 70%, then you need 630 appointments. And if 10% of leads, meaning people that you reach out to and have conversations with about real estate, schedule an appointment with you, you need 630 conversations in the year 2026. That means, excuse me, two-way conversations about real estate. This is why I love this model, because it's math. There's no emotion in it. The math is the math. 2 plus 2 is going to equal 4. And how empowering is that to know that if you follow the formula, you are going to get the result. You're going to get no's and no-shows and things that fall through just like anybody else. But I want you to think about it like a deck of cards. Like if you know within your deck of cards that every time you pull, let's say a jack, king, queen, or ace, that's a closed deal, and you know that they're in there guaranteed, then you're not going to be bothered by flipping and getting like a number, a 5, a 6, a 1, or whatever, because you know that the jack, queen, king, and ace are all in there. You just have to keep working the numbers. Our business is the same way, you guys. It is not magical, it is mathematical. And when you work the mathematical formula, you're essentially guaranteeing the results that you want at the end of the year. And so that's my hope, is that this can empower you to get where you want. And so you can really work intentionally and on purpose this year rather than just spinning your wheels. So this is your worksheet that we're going to go through. Now, like I said, you're going to get this in email as long as you registered on the Eventbrite, then which you should have. Then you're going to get this in your email, this exact worksheet plus a spreadsheet version. But we're going to go through this today, and I want you to write this down on a piece of paper. We're going to follow along together, and I'm going to walk you through exactly how we are figuring that out. Okay. Okay. So everything that we just talked about is going to be plugged in here on this worksheet. So of course you have your annual income goal, your 2026 gross commission income goal. Remember how you find that? You take your net goal. You want to make 200,000, for example, and you divide it by 40% if you're an experienced agent, 60% if you're a new agent, right? You guys got that at the beginning. So go ahead and write your gross commission income goal down. That's the first step. Then we're going to plug in these next averages. What's your average per closing? Your average sales price, if you're not sure what it is, just use 400,000 for today. It's an easy average to start with based on the Charlotte market. Or if you know your average sales price or you have your multi-year trends and you figured it out real quick, plug it in there. Average sales price. Then your average commission rate, same story. If you know what it is, fantastic. If not, make a note to go figure it out after this. Or if you have sold nothing, then track it moving forward. We're going to use 2.5% today. Okay. And your average commission per closing. So that just means you are figuring out if you're or your your estimated commission per closing. So if you know my average sales price is 400,000, average commission rate is 2.5%, you're going to take 400,000, I'm going to type it on my own calculator with you, times 0.025. And that's going to give you your estimated commission per closing, $10,000. Easy math. So go ahead and write that down. Next, we're going to figure out the number of closings that you need. So your income goal. Remember, we need your gross commission income goal because you've got to have that whole number in order to get your net. So let's just say if your gross commission income goal, I'll just use the number I said earlier. So if we want to make 200,000 in this next year and we're going to say you're an experienced agent. So we're going to say divide that by 40%, then that means your gross commission income goal is 500,000 this year. So we're going to take 500,000 divided by your average commission. Remember, we figured that up right here, what your estimated commission is per closing. So in this case, it's $10,000. So that means your goal is going to be 50 closings this year in order to hit that number. Now remember, if you hit it faster and you have a bunch of $1 million plus listings or something like that, fantastic, right? So don't let yourself be turned off or like glaze over when you're like, oh, there's no way I can do 50 units. Don't worry about that. This is the math, right? If you want XYZ, this is how you can conservatively guarantee that you're going to hit the numbers that you want to hit. Now, you might hit it faster, right? Your expenses might end up being lower. Your cost of sale might end up being lower. Your price point might end up being higher. Your commission rate might end up being higher. But let's not base your plan based on the hope of those exceptions to the rule. Let's base your plan based on the conservative numbers that you know that you can pretty much guarantee your outcome, right? And then we can work towards that. Now, we're going to look at conversion benchmarks. Now, this is just where you're going to kind of fill in your own percentages for your own reference, okay? So this is, again, I just have our basic averages put in here. Conversations to appointment, 10 to 1 or 10% means typically if you have 10 conversations, which does not mean you reached out to them and they never answered you. That means a two-way conversation over text, phone call, or Facebook Messenger about real estate. Have 10 of those, you'll probably get one appointment. Buyer consults, typically you'll get 50% signed. Listing consults, 75% signed. Those are just examples. But again, remember, this is where you'll plug in your own averages, or if you don't know what those averages are, use these for now and then track them this year. Okay. Now I'm going to demonstrate to you how we actually are going to work backwards. Remember how I said a few slides ago, we got to work backwards so you know exactly all the way down to how many conversations you need to have to make that $200,000 net, right? So that's what we're going to do. So we now know how many closings that we need, right? We figured it out on step number 3, income goal divided by average commission. In this example I used, it's 50 closings needed. Okay, you can write your own down if you know how many closings that you need. So closings needed 50. Now we're going to work backwards from that amount of closings needed to tell us what actually needs to happen. Okay, we're going to work backwards. So agreements needed. We need to know how many signed agreements do we need in order to get that amount of closings. Okay. So for example, if you need 25 closings this year, we're going to divide it by the averages that I shared on the last slide of 75%. These are example averages based on our office. Use these averages, but if you know yours, this is where we plug those in, right? Agreements needed. So we're going to take your goal of closings. I know I said I was going to do 50, but my notes say 25, so I'm going to do that to be less confusing. I hope that's helpful. Hope that's helpful. Okay, so 25 closings, you're going to divide it by 75%. So 25 divided by 75% is going to give you 33 agreements needed. That means you need 33 people to sign a listing agreement or a buyer's agency agreement with you this year in order to get 25 closings. Make sense? Now we know how many agreements we need to shoot for. So once we know how many agreements we need to figure out how many appointments do we need to hold to get the 33 agreements. So, example, we're going to use the same example, 33 agreements signed. We're going to divide that number by 75%, the average for um, appointments held to agreements. And that's going to give you your number that you need to hold 44 appointments in the year 2026 in order to get 33 agreements signed. Make sense? Next, we're going to take that number. You need 44 held appointments. We're going to divide it by a 70% hold rate, meaning 70% of appointments you set will hold. Okay. So if you need to hold 44 appointments, divide it by 70%, and that's going to give you 63. You need to set 63 appointments this year. They're not all going to hold. Don't act like they're going to all hold. Like you need to, of course, we want to hope that they all hold and plan for them to hold, but remember the deck of cards. We're not going to get disappointed if an appointment cancels because we know 63 appointments are going to be set to get 44 of them to hold, right? Now, if you know you need to set 63 appointments in your year, we need to know how many people do I need to talk to in 2026 to get 63 appointments set. Now, we're going to use the 10% conversion rate, which is the average in our office. Remember, these are numbers that you'll track. And this is probably going to be different too if you're working with like ice cold leads versus warm leads versus your database versus your sphere of influence, right? So versus open house leads. So that's very important that you're tracking where your leads are coming from and how many conversations you're having a day. So if you've not done that, just do that in the first quarter and you can get your basic averages, okay? It's pretty simple. Just keep a note on your phone. So we're going to take those 63 appointments set. We're going to divide it by 10%. That means you need to have 630 conversations in the year 2026. Conversation means two-way, right? You talk to somebody else about real estate in an attempt to set an appointment. Now, every single person you try to talk to is not going to talk back to you, right? You're going to call people, you're going to leave messages, you're going to text people, they're not going to answer, you're going to reach out to people on Facebook. So you can't just track the conversations. We also want to figure out what that looks like. So I'm going to talk about that in a second. So we know 630 conversations. How many conversations do you need to have each week? You're going to take the number 630 and divide it by the number of working weeks in your year. Now, you get to decide what that is, okay? So, a really easy way I like to look at it is let's say 48 weeks out of the year, right? That gives you plenty of time to have vacations, to take time off, to accidentally get sick, somebody threw up on you, whatever the thing is. And so if you were to take 630 conversations and divide it by 48 weeks, it means you need to have 13.12, so 13 to 14 actual conversations with people each week to get that number. Does that make sense? So then you've got your weekly minimum standard. I commit to blank conversations per week. Okay. So 13 conversations per week is the example here. I put this here too because I just want to encourage you to be clear, like, why are you doing this, right? Because here's the deal. At the end of the day, like, if it's fine, we can know how much money you want to make, like all the things, how many people you need to talk to. That's cool. But the reality is real estate, I don't know. I don't know that I've ever met an agent that's like, oh my gosh, I so look forward every week to getting my conversations goal done, my dials, my daily dials and my lead gen, right? Like nobody really loves that. But why do we do it? The people that do it consistently and successfully get results. So what separates them from everybody that we all know we should do it, but maybe we're not doing it consistently? 99% of the time, it's that you might not, if you're not doing that thing consistently enough, like you're like, cool, I know I should talk to 13 people, but I did it like once last year. You probably don't have a strong enough motivator. Like, why do you need to do it? Why do you want to do it? And we can have another conversation about how to figure out what your why is or what's going to motivate you in this business. But that is something that's so important to dig into and be crystal clear. Like, what will you flippin' go through a brick wall through? Do what's uncomfortable, get out of your comfort zone, do the thing you don't feel like doing when there's plenty of other things that you could do instead that, are distractions because you know the result you want. And people are motivated differently. You might be motivated by fear or by reward, right? I would say 90% of humans, whether we like it or not, are motivated by fear. Like we run away from something. So maybe your motivator is like, if I don't make my calls, I don't have any money and then I don't get to eat, right? If that's a strong enough motivator for you to make those calls, fantastic. There are people though that maybe you have got to have, like there's an agent I work with where she has got to have a vacation every other month, meaning she has to have something to look forward to. And when she has that thing on her calendar every other month to look forward to, she's so motivated and she gets after it with business because her business pays for the fun that she's working towards, right? For me, it's my kids. I look at my kids. Our kids are in, me and Josh, our kids are in private school. They have an integrative health doctor, like holistic, that's not covered by insurance. Those two are so cute and expensive. And so I look at them every day and they are my strongest motivator to make me get out of my comfort zone because I'm not willing to look at them and tell them they can't have the life that they deserve because I wasn't willing to get uncomfortable, right? You just have to know what it is for you. Okay, let's keep moving. I hope this is helpful for you guys. So, like I said, you want to then break it down into daily actions, vacation planning. How many weeks off do you want? I will say, too, just as a side thing, I heard this great rule from Jordan Freed, who's a top coach, highly successful coach in the real estate space, and talking about how to prevent burnout for agents. And one thing he recommends is that you take 1 3-day long weekend every single month and some sort of vacation every single quarter as a way to keep yourself energized. And I loved that. But just as an example, working 48 weeks means that's you would have those other 4 weeks off. So you can decide what you want that to look like. So that tells you what you need to set. Then you have your daily reach outs. Okay. So if you're going to have that 48-week year, 13 conversations, right? Because it was like 13.12. So 14 will round up to be conservative. 14 conversations per week need to be had in order for you to set 2 appointments per week to reach your goal. Okay. So then you've got your daily reach outs to have those 14 conversations per week. This is my personal recommendation. And then again, this is something for you to track on you based on your personal averages. But what I've found in the real estate space 90% of the time is that you're looking at about making 20 reach outs per day in order to get those conversations per week. Okay. So that becomes your daily non-negotiable. What is a reach out? 20 reach outs per day, which is what a very large majority of top successful agents still do today in their business. Is it could be a text message, it could be a phone call, it could be a Facebook message, but 20 reach outs means 20 times a day that you're making an attempt for a one-to-one conversation with somebody. So it's not like a Facebook post or a mass email. It's 20 times a day, I'm going to make an attempt to have a conversation with someone. When I was new, if you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a database that big, I'm going to run out of people to talk to, like all that stuff. Well, there's two things to think about that. One, focus on building your database. And if you only have 100 people in your database right now, then you're like going to go through 20 reach outs in 5 days. Then we need to grow your database. That's step one. Step two, though, is think about all the people that you're surrounded with, because those 20 reach outs a day could also be talking to the barista at Starbucks. You have your real estate name tag on and you bring something up, or talking to somebody at the dog park. It doesn't have to be sitting in front of your laptop calling people in your database necessarily. It could be the 10 open house leads you generated last week. Open houses are a phenomenal way to grow your database. One thing I did when I was a newer agent that worked really well for me is I utilized social media to do my reach outs because I needed to grow my database. And so I would go on Facebook every day, and every single person that had a birthday, I wasn't just posting happy birthday, I was directly messaging them and saying, hey, Sarah, happy birthday. I hope it's an awesome one. By the way, how have you been? and just make an attempt to start that conversation. And that led to a ton of clients when I was a new agent. I would also do the same thing on Instagram. You know, if I came across somebody's profile, you can go to geotagging on Instagram. And so, like, for example, I knew my target market, I was targeting moms who are similar to me. So I would go geotag and look at like local breweries and see who checked in there, who posted there. And I would follow their account, you know, and message them in a non-spammy, non-weird way, like give them a genuine compliment and just say, hey, it looks like we have some things in common, you know, would love to, you know, follow you on Instagram, hope you've been doing well or whatever, you know, and just start a conversation. So those are examples of things you could do if you're like, I have no one to talk to. Um, and I love this because clarity creates results, right? You don't have a goal problem. You just have a clarity problem. When you have a clear map, you're not going to wander around in the wilderness, right? Know your weekly appointment number and your business becomes predictable. And that's way less stressful. One of the biggest needs that human psychology says that humans need is predictability. And so this is how you get that in your business. So your business can stop feeling like a roller coaster and you can feel in control. Okay. Now, the last thing I want to talk about on here real quick is how do we break this down um, for even more clarity? Like, how do I know? I mean, just basically off the top of your head, how do I know if I need to go find people or if I have people? If you're a newer agent, or even if you're not, this is a really great way to think about it. Your database is your gold mine. So if you take your cell phone out right now, go to the contacts in your phone, if you have an iPhone, and scroll all the way to the bottom, it will tell you how many contacts are in your phone. Um, so let's just say, and if anybody wants to put in the chat box how many contacts you have in your phone, please feel free. I'll just use an example. Let's say you have 500 contacts in your phone. There's probably some random people in there, like I don't know, Pizza Hut and somebody you never want to talk to again. That 1032. Awesome, McDaniel. McDaniel, bless my heart. Awesome, Maggie McDaniel. So if you have 1032, I would say you can guesstimate, but an easy way to do this is maybe take 10% off of that total number of estimating like how many might be duplicates, wrong numbers, Pizza Hut or whatever. And then that gives you kind of your exact database that you have to work with. Do not buy into the lie, by the way, that you're like, well, those people live in Minnesota, so that doesn't count. Not correct. And I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was a new agent, so I've ran and owned my own business for 20 years. My business prior to real estate was a nationwide business in skincare and cosmetics. And so I had thousands and thousands of contacts, but they lived everywhere. I really didn't have a large database in Charlotte because I traveled 6 nights a week and had 6 brick and mortar locations all over the country, from California to Charleston to Florida. And so I had to think creatively. And so I really want to encourage you because this was powerful for me. Like, I definitely focused on how can I build my local database? Me and my husband, Josh, did open houses consistently every single weekend. I followed up with those leads consistently, and that brought a ton of business. I did a lot of social media as well. However, I focused on everyone I knew all over the country. They were still on my VIP automation system within my database, which I'll mention in a second, 36 touches. I had them on that. And what my communication was to them was, I am your expert agent for anybody you know moving to the Charlotte market. And by the way, if you're getting ready to buy and sell in Baltimore, let me know and I'll connect you with the best agent in your area. And so I focused on promoting my referral opportunity to the people that I knew. And I'll just give you an example. There was somebody in my database who I knew her through my business. She lived in Wilmington, North Carolina. I kept her in all my communication and touched, you know, called her, texted her once a quarter and just friendly reminders. Hey, you know, don't forget if you ever know anyone moving to Charlotte, I would love to help them as their agent. I, you know, am a part of the top brokerage in my area and I can help them. I'd love to do that, blah, blah, blah. Right. Um, and I mean, she really said nothing. She didn't answer back much. She just kind of received my communication. And for all I knew, she didn't care. Well, she ended up moving to Delaware like 6 months later. And then it was probably about 6 or 8 months after that, I got a call from her and she goes, hey, and by the way, she's been in my automation, my communication that whole time. And she goes, hey, you know, my friend that lives next door to me is lives in Delaware. My friend that lives in Delaware next door to me is moving to Charlotte. Can you help her? And me and my husband got a client and we helped her buy a house and it was a phenomenal situation. So that's a great example of how you can like don't waste the opportunities in your database. They're unlimited. Now, I didn't sit around just waiting for someone to refer someone from Delaware to me, right? But that was a part of my automation system in addition to building my local database. So with proper automation, you should have about a 10% conversion rate within your database. So that means if you have 300 people besides Pizza Hut in your database, then that will equal 30 potential deals that are sitting in your database right now. Now, proper automation means your database needs to be hearing from you minimally 36 times per year, four of those being a phone call or a text message directly to them. The great thing at our office is that we have that automation system already set up for you. So all you have to do is upload your database, plug them in, and they're going to get a custom, locally branded to you, local email newsletter from you every single month. They get a neighborhood update for their local neighborhood markets, like what the houses sell for, the pricing, all that stuff, once a month automatically, plus ongoing communication as well. So that gives you kind of what you can expect there. The caveat here is that you have to make sure they're on the automation. If they're not, NAR, National Association of Realtors, last year found that the average person in America knows 9 realtors. They also found that when someone gets ready to buy or sell, they typically, it's like 82% of them reach out to one. And the other, like, whatever that was, 12% or 8, whatever it is, whatever the number is, 82 plus. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, 17%. You don't have to be good at math, remember? The other 17% talk to two. So you have got to be top of mind in order to become the person that people pick because they know a lot of realtors. NAR also went on to find out that in order to be top of mind and be that one person that somebody thinks of, they need to hear from you 15 to 21 times or every 15 to 21 days. And so in order for someone to hear from you every 15 to 21 days and you not lose your mind, you got to have them on automation and it's got to be simple. And so that's why we have this created for our office. Because if you've got 300 people, you've got 30 deals hidden in your phone right now. Do not believe the lie that you have no business. It's right there. You just have to go find them. So that kind of brings us to the end here. I don't know about y'all, but that excites me about, how much business is sitting in your phone right now because it's a gold mine. You could be sitting on a gold mine right now. Imagine, so Maggie is a great example, right? She had 1,032. So if she has 1,032, let's say take out 10% for the random whatever, that's 103. So 1,032, that means she technically probably has about 928 potential people in her business that could bring some form of business, right? Now, 10% means that she has about 93 pieces of business already sitting in her database. Now, imagine if you took 93 pieces of business at $10,000 your average commission. Maggie's sitting on $930,000 in potential income in her database right now, not counting any future business that she brings in, future clients, open houses, referrals, or anything else. That is the power of your world, of your database, and of marketing and communicating to those people effectively. So I want you to get excited. Stay tuned because in the coming weeks, that's what we're going to dig into, how to convert business effectively and bring more business into your world with ease because we know our numbers now. But if you're anything like me, like let's not bootstrap our way and grind our way into the ground to try to get those numbers to happen when you could attract them with ease and by doing things that you already love to do. So stay tuned for that in the coming weeks. We'll break down how to actually convert those contacts into prospects, how to generate referrals from them, and so forth. Your challenge today is I want to ask you, what's one change that you're committed to making this week now that you know your real numbers? So what is it you need to do? Put it in the chat. Do you need to update your inputs? Like, meaning what are your averages? What's the data? Like how many people am I talking to? What are my percentages? What's my averages? And update that regularly this quarter so you get your clear averages. Do you need to treat that worksheet I just sent you that you're going to get in your email as a living document so it can guide your daily actions and you can see what's working and what's not or what number might be off with your map? Or do you need to measure your progress and just consistently look at this to know where you are and what it takes to reach your goals? Remember, focus is what separates successful people from everyone else. That's just the facts. Focus is your superpower. If you can be focused and undistracted and have that laser vision, put your blinders on, you guys. It doesn't really matter what any other realtor around you is doing that's bringing them success. You've got to stay in your lane, know your strengths, be clear on what works for you. By the way, if you're not clear, I would love to go over your KPA strengths assessment with you. We have a system now that will highlight exactly what you should be doing based on your strengths to lead generate effectively so you can stop spinning your wheels. When you know your numbers, you know what to do next. And that's my goal from today is that you feel empowered. So I'm going to stop sharing and let me look at the chat real quick here. Could you do the formula on the contacts again? That's very eye-opening. Yes, TJ. Yeah. So basically you'll go to the contacts in your phone, just as an example. So you have 300 contacts in your phone. You're going to take out about 10%, which is essentially just saying like the random people that might be in there that might be a wrong phone number or Pizza Hut or somebody you're not going to talk to ever. Take that out. And then what's left is that number. So let's just say in this example I just said off the top of my head, if you have 300, 10% is 30, right? So 300 minus 30, that gives you 270 people in your database. Then if you're touching them consistently using our automated 36 touch system, which is very easy to do, by the way, if you're with our office, it's already built. It's set up, it's done for you, branded for you and everything. You just hit the button for it to start. Then that should give you, all you have to do, by the way, to go along with that is touch like a phone call or a text message to those people in that system once a quarter. That's it. That can look like I'm gonna, those touches we're gonna do every day, right? To get the contacts, the conversations. That means if you have 270, you've got 27 pieces of business sitting in your database right now. If your average commission, based on your average price point and your average commission rate that you personally take, because remember, there's no standards with commissions, then if that number is 10,000, just for example purposes, then it means that you've got $270,000 in commission already sitting in your database right now, not counting anything else that you generate. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge. Vanessa said, yes, I need to figure out my numbers. Okay, that's a great commitment for this year, for this quarter, Vanessa. It's so simple because all you have to do, if you're like, gosh, I just want to start fresh, just keep a note in your phone or just write it on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be complicated. I think people overcomplicate it so much with like, well, I've got to do this crazy spreadsheet and spend an hour a day. You really don't have to. Just know your numbers, right? Every time you make a contact, a reach out, your lead gen, like literally what I did when I was new is I would have a notebook like this, and actually there's mine for this month. I've got it started. This is my to-dos for the day and I'm tracking it. So you just write at the top, January 6th, 20 touches today and write it. And then every time you do a touch, you just hash, 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 hash. You get an appointment, write their name, and that's it. And then you can look back at the end of the week and say, oh, let me count all my hashes up. I made 100 touches this week, 100 reach out attempts, and I got 3 appointments or whatever it was. And then you're going to have your averages started. So it can be as simple as writing it down on a piece of paper and just being aware. Just start there. Don't overcomplicate it. It's not easy, right? Real estate's not easy, but it is simple. So keep it simple, sweetie. Don't overwhelm yourself. TJ, I'm so glad that was helpful. Catherine said, I need to measure my progress. I love that. That's a really empowering thing to do, because when we know where we're at, right, we know what we need to do next. Will you share the PowerPoint slide with the calculations? Yes. As long as you registered on the Eventbrite, you're going to get an email from me with this recording, with the slides and the spreadsheet. In case you just want to use the spreadsheet, you can, and the actual manual worksheet. I personally really like the manual worksheet because I feel like if I can understand how the numbers are showing up, I feel like more bought into it, I guess, if you will, for me personally. What questions do you have? Anybody have questions? We've got about, a couple more minutes here and then we'll wrap it up. So any questions, you can unmute yourself or just put it in the chat. Or if you want to share an aha, something that you enjoyed today or that you learned, that is great too. Joey said, my commitment is to finish up the training testing. Yeah, Joey is about to be licensed. That's so exciting. We're excited for you, Joey. And he's also going to work on making his phone contact list, make sure it's accurate. I do think that measuring progress will be super important and commit to that once licensed. I love that. One good thing to know, Joey, too, just as a side thing, if you're at our office during new agent orientation, we help you get all that automation set up. So it's really the easy button. And then all you have to do is track the phone calls, right, that you're doing. What other questions, takeaways, comments, ahas, anything at all? Is there anything that you would have liked to learn more about, or was this helpful? I would love your feedback. How do we get our KPI? Oh, the KPA. Yes, Catherine. Here, I'll write that down. Let me write it down on my little sticky pad here. Catherine, I can send you if you've not, I can't remember if you took the KPA already or not. So I'll send the KPA to you, Catherine. And then myself or Stephanie, we can review it with you. It's super empowering because we have a system that we run it through and it'll say, for example, based on Catherine's strengths, here's the 3 ways she needs to lead generate. And it's so empowering. Like I remember when I was new, I tried everything, honestly. Like I tried expired listings, for sale by owners, open houses. I think the only thing I didn't try was door knocking, but it's a really painful time because, like, for example, I'm really good at open houses. Calling expired listings for me and my personality style was like poke me in the eyeball. Like it was just not pleasant. However, there's other people, their strengths, they crush expired listings and are making like $1 million a year. And that's all they do, right? But like, how nice would it be to not waste your time trying something that's out of your zone of genius when you could just put all your energy into what will work for you, right? So we'll go through that, Catherine. I'd love to do that. Maggie, oh, good. I'm so glad it was helpful. Awesome. Vanessa, super helpful. Yes, Andy, I can send you the KPA for sure. I'm writing it down right now. Tony, same thing. Absolutely. I'll send it to you. It is wild because it is shockingly accurate. It's really interesting. And Joey as well. Yep, absolutely. Okay, guys, well, stay tuned. So, just so you know, next week, okay, hold on. KPA list, Maggie and Cody, no problem. And by the way, if I'm writing you guys down, but if you don't see it, just email me and be like, I didn't see it. That way, I don't want to miss anybody because this goes quick. So next week, Tuesday, same time, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. is our next Zoom. And let me tell you the topic officially. It's next week's Zoom is the appointment engine. Build a lead gen system that never stops working. So it's going to go right married next with this. So then we can talk about how to get that business. So thank you guys all for being on. Gary, I just saw that and I'm writing your name down as well. You guys are awesome. I hope this was helpful. Keep an eye out for the recording and information to all come your way. And